So I finally got my hand on a rolling knife sharpener. Hi, I'm Jed, this is Cook Culture. So a rolling knife sharpener. I finally got my hands on one of these guys. I've been really keen on trying one. I've seen them on the internet and all around, and people have talked about them. Some customers of mine have them, and I'm keen. Like, is this a good tool? Should this be something that I buy for the stores and sell to customers? I don't know. So Cinq, the brand here, they sent this to me. There's no expectation. I didn't pay for it. They sent it to me to try. Obviously they want me to get on the YouTube channel. I'm gonna see if this thing holds water. Is this something that I should sell? So let's check this thing out. Okay, so I've got a knife here. This is a Shun Premier knife. This was brought to me by a customer for sharpening. We do free sharpening in our retail stores. So this was brought in for sharpening. This knife here is that dull. That is a dull, dull knife, right? There's not much of a blade on that. If I pushed hard, I could probably cut into myself, but just with regular sort of effort, there's no sharp edge to that. So this is a dull, dull knife. I'm gonna use this rolling knife sharpener and see if we can get this really sharp. I'm also then going to sharpen up using the commercial electric sharpener that we use in stores, one of my Miyabi's, and compare the two. The steels are going to be quite similar. Shun and Miyabi's, they compete with each other, so this should be quite similar. And then I'm going to try to see which one feels better. Here we go. Okay, so here's the kit. This is what comes in it. So there's the box, here's the kit. Inside here, we have an angle finder to find the angle of your knife. I don't need to use that because I know what the angle is that I'm going to be using. We've got a magnetic block here that goes from 10 all the way up to 25-degree angle. And we have the rolling sharpener that has a polishing wheel, and it comes with 3 different discs on here. A 400 grit, there's a 400 grit, a 1000 grit, and a 2000 grit. So polishing. So this is a grinding for sharpening. This is what I'm going to start with. And then we have 1000 and 2000. So what we are going to do is grab all the pieces we need. The knife is going to go upside down on the 15-degree. Gonna stick like this. So I've used this guy already. And what I'm finding using this guy is that I've got to be really kind of particular about where I place the knife, because as this rolls, if I put this down on the board here, as this guy rolls, when I'm going back and forth, getting the far end and the heel, I find don't sharpen as much as the piece that is right on the wood. So that is something that I'm working on, trying to figure out exactly as I go around here how to create the edge. What I'm doing is that I'm trying to create what's called a burr, trying to get a thin piece of metal to become kind of prominent on the edge of here that's going to feel on each edge. I'm going to be able to like grab my thumb and feel that I'm creating a small burr. Once I have a burr from tip to toe, I will have it sharp, and then I can go to polishing it. But I'm going to be using the 400 grit grinder, and I'm going to get that guy on. And so here's the action. I'm going to speed all this up and try to go really quickly once I start going. But the action that I'm doing, I'm holding onto this guy, and I'm going back and forth. So if you can see this, I'm actually trying to turn this guy a little bit as I'm going around it to try to create that edge. So going back and forth. The things that I've found that are a little bit awkward on here, there's one thing. This blade sticks up, right? And I don't love that part. And also when I go here, and sometimes I can go past, and then off the blade, and if the guide is off, and I feel like I'm gonna stab myself or cut myself. So it's something that I have to get more comfortable with. So right now, those are my issues, but you know, I find the simple action of like honing or stone sharpening at home works really well. So, you know, there's things that I'm liking and things that I'm not liking. And I'm kind of indifferent, I guess, is where I'm at the moment. But what I'm going to do is that I'm going to be going like so for quite a while. This knife being so dull, this is going to take me probably 10 minutes to get a burr on here. I will actually put a timer on here on my phone, and I will know exactly how long this is going to take. Okay, so timer on. Here we go. Okay, so 9 minutes and 16 seconds I've been going for. I'm gonna stop it there. Okay, so I've created a solid burr all along. I find with using this, the ends are very hard to get. I don't have a burr on kind of each end. It's kind of annoying me, but it is kind of what it is, it seems. I've had that each time I've tried to use this. It's there a lot, just not as much. It's very, very much pronounced along here. So we've had the 400 grit on. Now we're gonna move on to the 1000 grit sanding, and I'm going to start polishing this. So we have a burr all the way along, so the knife is sharp. Now we're gonna start to straighten this knife out. I will continue with the timer. All right, so we're at 11:40. I've polished, starting to polish there. It doesn't push, it's starting to kind of push that guy up a little bit. There's not so much of a burr on there. Yeah, a little bit less of a, no, burr's still there. It's just getting a little bit polished, a little bit different. Feels different, it's not as rough with this guy, which makes sense because we're using a 1000 instead of a 400. So we're going on to the 2000 now. So we did a few minutes there, and now we're gonna go and restart for 11:40. Okay, so we're at 14:17. Okay, how are we feeling? Okay, a little bit of an edge on that one side when it's finishing up. So now we use this final polishing side here. Okay, so this shouldn't take us, I don't need to fast forward this, I don't think. So just finish this guy up with this high polisher. Just to straighten that guy up a little bit. Okay, grab each side. So definitely, I would love to see a larger piece of wood here, because I find when I have to move the knife back and forth there to get it right into shape, or I can easily push it off if I'm not careful. I don't need to be pushing too hard, of course, but I can, and it's a little bit awkward that way. Let's see if that does its thing. Okay, so it feels like I need to just do a little bit on that one side, just lightly. See if I just straighten that up a little bit. Yeah, okay. So it's good. So I'm not gonna test this on my skin. That's a bad thing. So we're gonna do a paper test here. Okay, so a piece of paper, sharpened knife. Okay, so it's good, it's sharp, definitely, of course, it's way sharper, but it has a little bit of texture as it's going through the paper. Like maybe I could polish it more. That was 15 minutes of polishing, and to be honest, my hand was starting to get kind of sore from holding this guy. It's a little bit awkward, this guy. It would be best if it had a better handle to it. But you know, it's definitely a hell of a lot sharper. So now we're going to test. I've got a Miyabi Co here that I would say is even a lower quality technically than the Shun Premier, but a Co. And right now it's got a little bit of need of sharpening. So it's the end especially. So I'm gonna put this through our electric sharpener and see how I can feel the difference between these two. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the Co is sharpened. And how does it feel? That's a sharp knife. So comparatively, yeah, it's definitely close-ish. If this has more kind of tooth to it. It just has a little bit of texture to it, but it's good. So that unit got it sharp, but the electric sharpener got it sharper. You know, if I wanted a easy manual sharpener at home, maybe that's good. But let me put these guys down and we'll have a quick review. Okay, the Cinq Sharpener. I'm happy with it. I think it worked well. I think it's a lot of work to sharpen a very dull knife. But that being said, people shouldn't let their knives get dull, like a butter knife dull. That's just too dull. I think if this was a maintenance tool where you're keeping your knives in good shape and you're just getting them back to be sharp, I think they would work really well. Off camera, I spent a bunch of time with that Sharpener Compare and I polished it more with the 1000 and 2000 grit. I was able to get it sharper. Nearly as sharp as I was with my electric sharpener. So with the effort, I think if I was to go with a decently sharp knife and getting it really sharp, and I put half that effort that I put to go from dull to sharp, I would have got that more successfully. I got fatigued by trying to take something from super dull to as sharp as I could get it. And that's not really the purpose of sharpening a knife. You really should be maintaining your knife more often. So that's not really the job, I think, of this guy, is to take dull knives and make them sharp. This is something that if your knife is in decent shape and you're maintaining all the time, because this is easy to pull out and easy to use, then I think a rolling sharpener does make sense. So the other thing that I've seen online is people talking about these discs wearing out. I've sharpened about half a dozen knives so far with this. That is really nothing in the lifespan of what this should do, but I haven't seen any degradation. Degradation? I haven't seen this degrade whatsoever. And so I don't know if that is going to become a thing or not. I haven't put the time, the months, or maybe even years into this guy yet, but I haven't seen that change whatsoever. I didn't even think that was a thing until I watched somebody on another YouTube video when I was doing my research for this one, that's something that they complained about, and it hadn't even come to me. So this one, I find that so far it's working really, really well. And the polishing blade on the back here, not sure how well that does. I would probably go to something like a strop or use like something to polish the knives better than this guy. This didn't seem to do much of anything, but the sanding discs did. So I think generally overall, the concept of using a rolling sharpener, I think is a good idea. As I said while I was sharpening it, it's a little bit funny having a blade pointing right at you, and I did roll off the end a couple of times because I was just getting frustrated of not getting a burr on the ends. So that is something to keep in mind when you're using it. As I was saying also, it would be neat if this piece was at the length, if you could have like a 4-inch or a 5-inch or a 6-inch, 8-inch piece of wood somehow, an expandable piece of wood that would allow you to have more pressure against evenly across the knife. I don't know if that is real or not from the type of design, if that would be something that would be functional. I'm not sure why they're all of this kind of shape. They come differently, but they're this kind of width. They all kind of stick on the same sort of way. I'm not totally sure why they're designed that way, but that's how across the board all of these rolling sharpeners are that way. So I'm a fan of the Cinq. I think this is a decent brand. I'd like to try some other ones to compare it against it, but right now I have no problem saying, yeah, like if you see this one, go for it. Personally, I think if this is something that makes sense to you and you want to sharpen at home all the time, a good quality electric sharpener is very fast and very efficient. So it can eat through blades a little bit faster than maybe you would want, so that is the only negative to them, but it is going to outperform in a speed and performance-wise more than anything else. So Chef's Choice is the brand in which I've used extensively. I'm not promoting Chef's Choice in any which way of being paid by them, but it's just out of all of the brands that I've used, I've stuck to Chef's Choice because they make a consistently high quality unit. So I hope that helps. Anybody have any other experience with these guys? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know more, and thank you very much.